For 4 years, everyone believed I had disappeared. At least that was the story my parents told. They told relatives I had suddenly changed. They said I had stopped answering their calls, abandoned my family, and vanished without explanation. Whenever someone asked about me, my mother would lower her eyes and say, "We don't know where she is anymore." My father would simply shake his head. "They say money changes people. He once told an uncle, I guess it changed our daughter." But there was one part of the story they never told anyone. I hadn't disappeared, I had simply stopped sending money. For years I had worked 2 jobs, sometimes sleeping only 4 or 5 hours a night. Every month I transferred money to my parents. I paid their rent, electricity bills, medical expenses, and even helped repair their house. Whenever I earned more, they asked for more. At first I didn't mind. They were my parents and I believed helping them was my responsibility. But eventually helping became an obligation. If I sent $800, they asked why it wasn't $1,000. If I sent $1,000, my mother reminded me that my cousin had recently bought a new car. "You're earning well now," she would say. "What are you saving your money for?" I never knew how to answer. I was saving for my future, for a home for emergencies, for the possibility that one day I might want a family of my own. But my parents acted as if my entire paycheck belonged to them. Then one month everything changed. I lost my second job suddenly. My income dropped by almost half. I called my mother and explained that I couldn't send the usual amount. There was silence on the phone. Then she said, "So you're abandoning us?" "No, Mom. I'm just struggling right now." "You're always making excuses." My father came onto the phone. "We raised you," he said coldly. "The least you can do is take care of us." That sentence broke something inside me. I had spent years believing that love meant sacrifice. But for the first time, I wondered whether they loved me or simply depended on me. So I made a decision. I stopped sending money. I didn't announce it. I didn't threaten them. I simply stopped. The calls started immediately. My mother called 15 times in one day. My father left angry voice messages. Then the messages became cruel. "You've become selfish. You'll regret this. Don't forget who paid for your childhood." I cried that night, not because I regretted my decision, because I finally realized that my parents had been measuring my worth by what I could provide. A few weeks later, my aunt called me. Her voice was trembling. "Where are you?" I was confused. "At home." "Why?" She sighed. "Your mother told everyone you disappeared." I couldn't speak what she said. "You stopped answering everyone and left without telling anyone." I looked at my phone. I had answered my aunt's messages. I had never blocked anyone. My parents knew exactly where I lived. They had my address. They had my phone number. They knew my workplace. I hadn't disappeared. They had simply decided to tell everyone that I had. For 4 years, the light continued. Relatives stopped contacting me. Family friends believed I was irresponsible. At weddings, people whispered when they saw me. Some thought I had become wealthy and abandoned my family. Others believed I had gotten into trouble. I eventually stopped defending myself. I focused on rebuilding my life. I found a better job. I rented a small apartment. I started saving slowly. I learned what peace felt like. Then 4 years later, my grandmother passed away. The entire family gathered at her house for the first time in years. I walked into the same room as my parents. The conversation stopped. My mother stared at me. My father looked away. Then one of my uncles stood up. He looked confused. "You're alive." I almost laughed. "Of course I am." He looked at my parents, but they told us, "You disappeared." The room became completely silent. I finally decided that after 4 years, I was done protecting their lie. I took out my phone. I have every message I said. Every bank transfer, every call. Every time they asked me for money, and every time I told them I couldn't afford it. My mother immediately shouted, "Why would you embarrass us like this?" I looked at her. "I'm not embarrassing you. I'm telling the truth." Then I showed my family the bank records. Month after month, year after year, thousands of dollars. Money I had sent willingly because I believed I was helping my family. My aunt covered her mouth. My uncle looked at my father. "You told us she abandoned you." My father had nothing to say. Then my mother began crying. "We were desperate," she whispered. I shook my head, "No. You were disappointed because I stopped funding your life." Those words were painful to say, but they were true that night. Relatives who had ignored me for years came to apologize. Some cried, some couldn't look me in the eyes. One cousin admitted, "I thought you were a terrible daughter." I smiled sadly, I thought so too. For a while, my parents never apologized that night. They blamed circumstances. They blamed financial pressure. They blamed me for refusing to continue supporting them. But I finally understood something. Sometimes people don't miss you when you leave. They miss what you provided. For 4 years, my parents told everyone I had disappeared. The truth was much simpler. I hadn't disappeared. I had finally stopped disappearing from my own life. I had spent years trying to be the perfect daughter, while slowly destroying my own future to keep everyone else comfortable. When I stopped sending money, I discovered who actually loved me. And when the truth finally came out, I realized that losing my family's approval was painful, but losing myself would have been far worse. I walked away from that house that night with no anger in my heart, only peace for the first time. I wasn't someone's daughter who owed them everything. I was simply myself, and that was enough.